Chapter 1. Bill Gates was born in 1955 in Seattle, Washington. He came from a family that believed in hard work and education. His father was a lawyer and his mother was a school teacher. From a young age, Bill loved reading. He would spend hours reading books, especially encyclopedias. He liked learning new things and asking questions. He was curious about everything. At school, Bill was smart and quiet. He didn't like sports much. Instead, he loved spending time with numbers and puzzles. One day, his school got a computer. Back then, computers were very rare and very big. Most people didn't even know how to use them. But Bill was excited. He started learning how to write computer programs. He was only 13 years old. He met a boy named Paul Allen who also liked computers. The two became close friends. They spent many hours in the school's computer lab. Sometimes they skipped classes to work on computers. They were very focused and very passionate. One day, they found a way to use the school computer without paying for time. But they got caught. The school punished them, but also saw their talent. So, the school gave them more computer time and asked them to help find problems in the system. Bill and Paul agreed. They loved solving problems. By high school, Bill and Paul started a small company. They called it Traf-O-Data. It analyzed traffic data. It wasn't a big success, but they learned a lot. Bill was learning how to build software and run a business. These were the skills he would need in the future. In 1973, Bill went to Harvard University. He wanted to study law like his father, but his mind was still on computers. He spent more time in the computer lab than in the classroom. Then, one day in 1975, Paul Allen showed Bill a magazine. On the cover was the Altair 8800, a new kind of personal computer. Bill's eyes lit up. They called the makers of Altair and said they could write a program for it. The problem? They didn't actually have a program yet, but they were confident they could do it. In a few weeks, they created a program called BASIC. When they tested it on the Altair, it worked perfectly. The company was impressed. They offered Bill and Paul a chance to sell their software. That moment changed everything. Bill decided to leave Harvard. His parents were worried, but they also knew he was serious. He told them, "If this doesn't work out, I can always go back to school." Bill and Paul moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. They started a new company called Microsoft. It was short for microcomputer software. They had little money and no office. But they had big dreams and strong determination. They worked long hours, often sleeping in the office. They ate cheap food and wrote code all day and night. Bill checked every line of the code to make sure it was perfect. He wanted their software to be the best. He believed that computers were the future, and he wanted Microsoft to be at the center of that future. In the early days, Microsoft was small, but Bill had big plans. He believed that one day every home and every office would have a computer. Most people laughed at that idea, but Bill didn't give up. He kept working, kept improving, and kept moving forward. Bill Gates was no longer just a curious boy. He was now a young man with a clear goal to change the world through technology. Microsoft was just beginning, and the journey had only started. Chapter 2. Bill Gates walked across the Harvard campus, his mind filled with thoughts beyond textbooks. While his classmates were preparing for exams, Bill was dreaming of building something the world had never seen. He had started to feel that college was not the right place for him anymore. The world outside Harvard was changing fast, and Bill wanted to be part of that change. One day, his friend Paul Allen showed him a magazine cover. It featured the Altair 8800, a new personal computer. The moment Bill saw it, he knew this was the future. His eyes lit up. He and Paul had been talking about computers for years. Now, here was a real chance to do something. "We can write software for this," Bill said. Paul nodded. That night, they made a big decision. They would contact the company that made Altair and offer to write software for it. There was just one problem. They had not written any code yet, but Bill believed in their skills. He called the company MITS and told them they had a version of BASIC ready. MITS was interested and asked to see a demo. Now they had to move fast. Paul flew to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where MITS was located. Bill stayed behind and worked nonstop. He barely slept. He wrote code for days. When Paul arrived at MITS, they tested the software. It worked perfectly. MITS was impressed. They agreed to work with Bill and Paul. That moment changed everything. Bill knew he could not wait anymore. He dropped out of Harvard. His parents were worried, but he was sure he had found his path. Bill and Paul created a new company. They called it Microsoft, a mix of microcomputer and software. They believed small computers would be everywhere one day. Most people didn't believe them, but Bill didn't care. In the beginning, life was tough. They worked from a small office. Sometimes Bill slept under his desk. He ate cheap food and saved every dollar. But he was happy. He was building something he believed in. Bill was not just a coder, he was also a businessman. He talked to clients, he managed the team, he made deals. Every day was full of challenges, but Bill never stopped. He loved solving problems. In 1980, Microsoft got a huge opportunity. IBM, one of the biggest computer companies, needed an operating system for its new personal computer. They came to Microsoft. Bill saw a golden chance. But Microsoft didn't have an operating system ready. Bill found a small program called QDOS. He bought it from another company and changed it. He renamed it MS-DOS and gave it to IBM. IBM agreed to use it for all their PCs. This was a smart move, but Bill made an even smarter one. Instead of selling the software, he licensed it. That meant Microsoft would get paid for every computer IBM sold. It was a brilliant business decision. Microsoft started to grow fast. More and more companies began to use Microsoft software. Bill hired more people. He looked for smart, hard-working individuals. He pushed his team to do better every day. He read every memo and checked every detail. He believed hard work was the key to success. Microsoft soon became a leader in the software world. In 1985, they launched a new product, Windows. It was different from MS-DOS. Instead of typing commands, users could click with a mouse. It was easier and faster. At first, Windows had problems. It was slow and had bugs. But Bill didn't give up. He worked with his team to fix it. They improved it again and again. Soon, Windows became the most popular operating system in the world. People started to notice Bill Gates. He was not flashy. He wore simple clothes and glasses. He liked to read and think, but he was changing the world. In 1986, Microsoft became a public company. That means people could buy shares of it. The company's value skyrocketed. Bill became a billionaire overnight, but money didn't change him. He still worked long hours. He still read technical papers. He still asked hard questions. He believed success was not about luck. It was about learning, working, and never giving up. By the end of the 1980s, Microsoft was everywhere. Offices, schools, and homes used Microsoft products. People used Word to write documents. They used Excel to work with numbers. They used PowerPoint to give presentations. Microsoft Office became a big hit. It made work easier and faster. Bill wanted to make computers useful for everyone, not just experts. While other tech leaders enjoyed the spotlight, Bill stayed focused. He believed in his mission. He believed software could empower people. He believed learning was a lifelong journey. He once said, "Don't compare yourself with anyone in this world. If you do so, you are insulting yourself." Bill didn't want to be like others. He wanted to be better. As the 1990s began, Microsoft was the top tech company. But Bill was not done yet. He had more ideas, more plans, and more goals. But as his company grew, so did the pressure. Some said Microsoft was too powerful. Some said it hurt smaller companies. Bill now had to deal with more than just software. He had to face legal battles and public criticism. Still, he stayed calm. He answered questions. He worked with lawyers. He focused on improving Microsoft's products. Behind the scenes, something was changing in Bill. He started to think about the future, not just of Microsoft, but of the world. He began to ask bigger questions. What comes after success? What should I do with all this wealth? These questions led him to a new path, one that would take him far from the world of software. But before he could follow that path, he had to make an important decision. Could he step away from the company he had built with his own hands? Section 3. A tech giant with a bigger purpose. By the mid-1990s, Microsoft was everywhere. Bill Gates had become one of the most powerful men in the world. His software was running on millions of computers. Every day, more people and businesses relied on Microsoft products. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Windows became tools of modern life. But success came with challenges. Competitors started to complain. They said Microsoft was too strong. They believed the company was using its power to keep others out of the market. In 1998, the U.S. government sued Microsoft for unfair business practices. The case became big news. Bill had to go to court. He gave long interviews and answered many questions. He stayed calm, but it was a difficult time. People started to look at him differently, not just as a genius, but also as someone with too much control over the tech world. While this was happening, something else was changing in Bill's life. He had gotten married in 1994 to Melinda French, a Microsoft employee. Melinda was smart, kind, and shared Bill's passion for helping others. They started thinking about life beyond business. They had already made a lot of money, more than they ever needed. Bill began reading more about global problems. He learned that millions of children died every year from diseases like malaria, which were easily preventable. He was shocked. How could this be true in a world with so much technology and money? This question stayed in his mind. In 2000, Bill and Melinda started the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Its mission was simple but powerful: to improve health and reduce poverty around the world. They wanted to help people who had no voice and no power. They believed that everyone deserved a chance to live a healthy and full life. At the same time, Microsoft continued to grow, but Bill's heart was slowly moving away from the company. He no longer wanted to lead just a tech business. He wanted to lead change in the world. In 2000, he stepped down as Microsoft's CEO. He gave the role to Steve Ballmer, his close friend and longtime partner. Bill stayed as chairman and focused more on the big picture, but now he had more time for the foundation. People were surprised. Why would one of the richest men in the world step away from power? But Bill knew what he was doing. He had already built one empire. Now he wanted to build something greater: hope, opportunity, and fairness for everyone. Through the foundation, Bill and Melinda gave billions of dollars to fight diseases. They helped provide vaccines to poor countries. They supported education programs in the U.S. and around the world. They also helped farmers in Africa grow more food and supported clean water projects. Bill didn't just give money, he gave time, energy, and ideas. He studied problems like a student. He read thousands of pages of reports. He visited villages, schools, and hospitals in many countries. He talked to doctors, teachers, and leaders. He wanted to understand people's needs. He once said, "If you show people the problems and you show them the solutions, they will be moved to act." Bill believed in data and results. The foundation worked with scientists, researchers, and governments to find the best ways to make a difference. Bill always asked, "Is it working? Can we improve it?" At first, many people were skeptical. They thought a tech billionaire couldn't understand real-world problems. But Bill proved them wrong. Over the years, his foundation saved millions of lives. By 2008, Bill decided to leave Microsoft completely. He wanted to focus full-time on the foundation. He still cared about technology, but he felt a deeper calling. Helping others had become his mission. That same year, Bill and Melinda joined Warren Buffett, another billionaire, to launch the Giving Pledge. They asked rich people around the world to give away most of their wealth to good causes. It was a bold idea. Many billionaires joined. It created a new movement of generosity. Even after leaving Microsoft, Bill stayed busy. He wrote books, he gave talks, He worked with world leaders. He continued to study new technologies, especially clean energy and climate change. He believed that innovation could solve even the biggest problems. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Bill was again in the spotlight. Years earlier, he had warned that the world was not ready for a global virus. Now people listened. His foundation gave millions to help develop and distribute vaccines. But Bill's journey was not without personal struggles. In 2021, after 27 years of marriage, Bill and Melinda announced their divorce. It was a sad moment, but they promised to continue working together at the foundation. They both remained committed to their mission. Through all of this, Bill stayed true to his core values. He believed in learning, in hard work, and in using his success to make life better for others. Looking back, his story was not just about building Microsoft. It was about using the power of knowledge to create change. It was about turning success into service. He once said, "Don't compare yourself with anyone in this world. If you do so, you are insulting yourself." These words remind us that greatness comes in many forms, not just money or fame, but also kindness, wisdom, and purpose. Bill Gates, the boy who loved books and computers, had become something even greater. A global thinker, a generous giver, and a man who believed that every life has equal value. As he moved forward into the next chapter of his life, one thing was clear: he had built more than a company. He had built a legacy. Bill Gates stood at the edge of a new kind of success. He was no longer just a tech pioneer or billionaire. Now he was known as one of the world's most important humanitarians. People saw him not only for what he had built, but for what he was giving back. But Bill didn't slow down. He had more goals, bigger ones. As the 2010s began, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation became the largest private charity in the world. With over $50 billion in funds, it focused on global health, education, and poverty. Bill didn't just sign checks. He rolled up his sleeves and worked like a student solving a tough problem. He would often say, "We have to think long term." That's exactly what he did. One of his biggest concerns was healthcare in poor countries. The foundation funded vaccine programs to fight diseases like polio, malaria, and tuberculosis. These diseases killed millions of children every year, but were often preventable. Bill studied health data like a scientist. He read medical journals. He talked to doctors. He met government officials in countries like India, Nigeria, and Kenya. He asked hard questions. Why are these children dying? What can we do better? His team supported programs that trained health workers, improved hospitals, and helped people get basic medicine. By 2020, their efforts had saved millions of lives. But there were other problems too. Education became a top priority. Bill believed that every child deserved a great education, no matter where they were born. In the United States, the foundation gave money to improve schools, train teachers, and help students go to college. Around the world, it helped build schools in remote villages, gave books to children, and supported online learning. Bill also cared deeply about climate change. He saw how rising temperatures, droughts, and floods hurt poor communities the most. He started learning everything he could about clean energy. He believed that science could fix the planet's problems if people were willing to invest. In 2015, he launched Breakthrough Energy, a group that supported companies working on clean energy technology. These included solar power, nuclear fusion, and ways to remove carbon from the air. Bill's goal was not just to talk about the problem, but to help build real solutions. In 2021, he wrote a book titled How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. It was written in clear language and filled with practical ideas. Bill didn't act like a politician or a preacher. He spoke as a curious person trying to understand and explain. He said, "It's not too late, but we have to act fast." People around the world respected his views. Even those who once saw him only as a businessman now listened to him as a global thinker. He had changed, and so had the world's view of him. But there were still critics. Some believed that billionaires should not have so much power, even in charity. They questioned why one man could make decisions about global health or education. Bill listened. He agreed that systems needed to be fair. He believed in working with governments, scientists, and communities. He didn't want to be a hero. He wanted to be useful. Over the years, he became more open about his own mistakes. He talked about lessons he had learned, about money, family, work, and time. He admitted that he had been too focused on work in his early years. He said he had not always made time for friends or fun, but he was learning, always learning. One of his biggest lessons was about failure. Bill said, "Success is a lousy teacher. It makes smart people think they can't lose." He believed that real growth came from mistakes. That's why he never stopped asking, "What did we miss? What can we do better?" After his divorce in 2021, many thought he would step away from public life. But he didn't. Instead, he kept working at the foundation. He kept writing. He kept meeting with world leaders. His mission had not changed. In 2022, he announced that he planned to give away virtually all of his wealth. He said he wanted to drop off the list of the world's richest people. His message was simple. Money has value only when it helps others. Today, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation continues its work. It fights disease. It supports women's health. It helps farmers grow food. It provides education tools to children in every part of the world. And Bill, he remains curious, focused, and hopeful. He wakes up early. He reads several newspapers. He spends time thinking, learning, and trying to understand problems. He's still a lifelong learner, the same boy who once read every book in the library. Now, in his late 60s, Bill says he's more optimistic than ever. He believes that the world can solve its biggest challenges if people work together and use science, kindness, and courage. He once said, "I believe that innovation is the key to a better future, but we must make sure that innovation serves everyone, not just the lucky few." Looking back, Bill Gates' story is more than just the rise of Microsoft. It's a story of vision, courage, and transformation. He turned a childhood love for computers into a company that changed the world. Then he turned his success into service, using his time, brain, and billions to help others live better lives. He proved that true greatness isn't just about being smart, it's about using your gifts for good. And he showed that the best kind of legacy is not the one written in history books, but the one written in the lives of others.